Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Fina here from Frina Reads. Today with my December TBR, which kind of has me freaking out because that means it's the end of the year. I don't know where 2024 went. It was just January. So I need to distract myself. So I need a lot of books for this month to not constantly fall into like a weird hole of, oh my god, it's the end of the year and Christmas is right around the corner and I haven't even taken care of Christmas presents at all this year. So, let's talk about the books that I want to read next month. Okay, the first book is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. Technically, it's a buddy read with Tori from Tori Reads. Hi, Tori. I'm not sure yet if this is going to happen. We will see. Depends on how we both feel and if we feel like reading this book. If not, it's fine. Next up is a book that I was actually planning on reading in November. During my November TBR, I put a little game together based off of Magic the Gathering cards. One I read already, and I will talk about that in my wrap-up next week. One, I picked a book, but I will likely not get to it in November. And that is not this whole chunker, but one of the books in this trilogy. This is going to be a great video, which is The Legend of Drizzt. And this is the second trilogy. So Crystal Shard in particular is the one that I want to read. And this is for my TBR prompt of companions, something with companions. And Drizzt has great companions, and I've read the first trilogy forever ago, and I always wanted to continue reading it, and I hear this trilogy is actually the best one out of all of them, so I definitely want to read this one. I actually really liked the first trilogy. It's fantasy fluff, right? It's nothing super deep, but it's fun, it's engaging, it has great characters, it has great themes, and yeah, I want to continue with that series. Since December, holidays. They're happening. A lot of them. Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, which is what I'm celebrating. So I thought I should read something Christmassy, even though I'm not really a seasonal reader. I usually don't do summer reads in the summer and, you know, that kind of stuff. But I have these two short stories that I'm already crazily waving around here sitting on my desk for some time. Well, not really. This is new. This was actually just published this year. And it sounds super interesting. It's horror stories all around Christmas. And there's some interesting themes in here. Like when you read about, you know, what the authors are talking about. There are also really great authors here like Tanana Reeve Dews, Darren Graham Jones, Garth Nix, Cassandra Caw, which I really like her stuff. I have to read more of her stuff. Anyway, scroll. And this sounds super interesting. This is a bunch of short stories. The other one is 3 short stories, North to Silent Nights. This one I really had on my shelves for quite some times. This is from 2 authors. One short story is from one author, one short story is from the other author, one short story is written by both. I'm especially interested in the ones from Lauren Petra Zilka because I met her at, I think it was a WonderCon 1 or 2 years ago in LA. And I have her other books on my to-read list. They sound more like fantasy romancy type of stuff, but I don't believe it was smutty romance, more just general fantasy romance, which I'm totally fine with. And her main character's name was Josephine, if I'm not mistaken, or Josie, something like that. So I want to read her stuff and how to better get to know an author than through short stories. So I'm hoping these are fun. Let's talk about series that I want to continue. This one, I won't even talk much about it because I've been mentioning it forever. I still haven't read book 2 in the Dark Tower. I still want to read book 2 of Dark Tower. So, you know, this is again on my TBR. The other series continuation that is on my TBR is Malazin, specifically Midnight Tides. So these 2 books are the German version of Midnight Tides. I started reading the English version, Midnight Tides, back in September, and I got about 10% in, and then I didn't read for all October, all November, and I was actually kind of lost in those first 10%. And when I picked it back up again just recently, I thought, what actually happened in the first 2? And I tried to find some summaries, but those summary videos or the articles are always so long that I might as well read the 10% again and then get the gist of what is happening. But I decided to switch back to German. I know I'm flip-flopping all the time, but I will continue reading the German version of these books. I'm just so used to how the writing style is now. I know all the character names, I know all the races, and I don't have to figure out again, okay, who is all of this again? I am getting along with it much better now. So that's what we are continuing. And then a new series that I haven't talked much about yet. I will, though, in my wrap up, because I read the first book in this series in November. And I want to continue reading that series. And that is the Last Luminian series by S.G. Blaze, who is also an author that I met on WonderCon 2 years ago. And she gifted me book 1, not for review or anything. She was just giving them away while she was at the booth. So I grabbed book 1, and back then I read half of book 1 and then immediately bought book 2 and 3. But then I wasn't in the mood for something like that and DNF'd it. So I decided to pick it up again this month. Perfect book for this month. And I want to continue with the series right now. This is a sci fantasy. Also more on the romance side, but not smutty, with a really cool premise and setting. So the setting is where the sci-fi part comes in, because it's a big universe with a lot of planets and a lot of alien races and whatnot. And then the fantasy side comes in because there's a lot of magic and shapeshifters and mythical creatures, really cool ones too. And yeah, I will definitely tell you more about that in my wrap-up video for November, because I think this is a series a lot of people could enjoy if you like fantasy romance. Another fantasy book that I have on my TBR is A Journey Thrice Begun. That is an ARC that I received by the author with no expectation. I'm generally, I don't know if you're aware, I'm generally not someone who is looking for review copies and whatnot. I try actually to keep it on the low because I don't want to get overwhelmed with books that I have to read. I'm very much a mood reader, and I like to read what I feel like. But this sounded very interesting. He sent me the book without any expectation, basically just said, read the first 10%. If you like it, great. If not, just, move on. It's the first book of a trilogy, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe book 2, he's in the middle of, and it will come out shortly. Something like that. I have no idea what it is about. Again, I love to go into things blind. I don't want to know anything about it, but I love the cover, and I definitely want to give it a read and see if this is something for me. And lastly, all of my current library holds are 6 to 7 weeks away, some longer. I will not even get into those. But the ones that are 6 to 7 weeks away, sometimes they come due earlier. So potentially 1 or 2, and hopefully not all 3 of these, might be read in December. Starting with Daendrith's Assassin by Elizabeth Wheely, I think is the name. You'll have the cover here. Her, I have been following on Instagram for quite a while, and I love her little skits with her as the book goblin, and I can so relate to the book goblin. I think it's hilarious. I didn't even know that she was an author. I just, thought she does skits on Instagram. But at one point I realized she is an author, and I looked up her stuff. So this series, she wrote more, but this is her series. It's 5 books and a novella in addition. And I'm really tempted at the moment, because she has a Black Friday deal on the signed paperbacks and whatnot. I'm so tempted to get them, but I'm trying not to do that anymore. I'm trying to read something first and then buy it if I like it. Goal for next year. But this is also a fantasy romance where the main character is a female assassin, and something with magic has consequences. And there were a bunch of keywords that I thought, okay, that might be interesting when I was reading the back, but I want to read it first to figure out, is this one of those fantasy romance that just are riding the hype train of, ACOTAR and Fourth Wing and all that kind of stuff, but it's actually not really good? Or is this good? So I want to read the first book and just see what it is all about. Plus, I also really like that cover. I think it's gorgeous. The next library hold is So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. Rachel Harrison is an author that I probably will add to my favorite author list. This is her latest release. Again, similar to, I don't want to buy something before I read it, but in this case, I don't want to buy the hardcover. I actually want to wait for the paperback, but I already want to read it. So I put it on my library. First world problems. To, read it and see what it is about. This is her vampire book. So she seems to have a theme with every of her books. One is about witches, one is about werewolves. This is about vampires. So I'm excited to read it and devour it. There's nothing more to say. The third book that is on my library hold is yet another fantasy romance. I was in a fantasy romance mood. It's The Serpent and the Wolf, also a new release that just came out, I think, a week or 2 ago. And it sounds like a fantasy romance, and similar to what I already said on the Daendret's Assassin. Those titles sometimes, whoa. But similar to that one, I just want to see how smutty it is, because I don't like smut fantasy romance, because if I want smut, then I just read a romance. I don't need dragons and witches around it that never play an important role in those books. But if it is really a fantasy story with romance, I like those. I hope that is enough distraction for December, because as I said, I still can't believe that it's already the end of the year. Anyway, we're not going there. We're not going there. We're just moving on. If you are in need for some recommendations on what you can read through the holidays, there's a great video here where I collaborated with a bunch of booktubers that all recommended a book they liked that is holiday or winter related, so go check that out. And then if you want to see how I'm doing with my TBR, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Till then, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and that I will see you soon with another video. Bye!